lawyer asked Jesus in the New Testament, hey, what's the greatest commandment? And Jesus replies, love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, and your mind. And the second is like the first, love your neighbor as yourself. On these two hang or hinge, depending on the translation, the whole law and prophets. So Jesus answers this lawyer and says, look, this is the greatest commandment. Mm-hmm. So how do you love others with your work? And I think our business school can create entrepreneurs or people who create work for people.
Dr. Jodey Hinze, the Dean of the School of Humanities, joins us today. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you.
Now, you have the Honors College and the School of Humanities.
That's right.
Give us a synopsis of both.
Well, they're linked by the liberal arts. So we have a core curriculum at HBU, the liberal arts core, and it's for every student who comes here. Some students will apply separately, and if accepted, they will join a different core, and that's the Honors College. And they will be learning the liberal arts from a great books approach. So we will start with Homer and end with modernity. And it supplants the core, and it's really a wonderful way to learn, sitting around reading great text and discussion.
How many total books do they read in that?
So I don't know the number of books, but I have seen several faculty stack up the books for the first semester, and it can be as tall as the professor.
Is it a British style of learning?
In some ways, it's an Oxbridge style. We have students who will have one-on-one mentorship and tutorship with one of the Honors College faculty, and then there's seminar discussion, and then one of our very well-loved faculty, Lou Marcos, Dr. Marcos, will do a great lecture hall, and it's just a great way to learn.
And the School of Humanities, you're the dean of that.
That's correct.
So I'd like to talk about the liberal arts core generally.
All right. What makes a liberal arts university or liberal arts college liberal arts is the focus and the distinctiveness of the core curriculum. A lot of people call it general ed. Here we like to call it the liberal arts core. And it is a way to enter into a conversation, one that's been going on for a very long time, to ask big questions. And the way we have it situated in the curriculum is every student takes a certain number of classes. So every student will be reading a particular book at a time. It allows students to have conversations and to pull from multiple classes and to connect dots. And it's for every student, whether it's nursing, Master of Accountancy student, any undergraduate program. And that's distinctive about HBU. We still care about those classes and the hard questions that are asked. And then as professors too, we get to join ourselves to that dialogue and that conversation and learn as well.
So elaborate on that again, because I think that's significant about HBU.
For a freshman who comes to HBU, they will take classes in literature and English and history, Western civilization, American government, Texas government, math, science. All of those classes will serve not just as the basics to get out of the way, but the Western civilization class, when appropriately learned and understood, will become part of the accounting curriculum. Accountants do that very thing. They take facts, they make decisions using discernment, they categorize things, and then they tell a story. Hopefully true stories, but they tell stories, and that's what historians do as well. And then learning about Texas government. When I teach government classes, I make my students write the Constitution. We care about that great text, and we want students to be intimately acquainted with it. And if you take that paradigm and set it throughout the other disciplines, when a student is a nursing student, he or she will be better because he or she has the humanities in medicine.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. Now, criminal justice.
It's a very new program. We have a criminal justice program that's very law heavy. We have 3 lawyers who teach in the program, as well as police officers. We have other people who come and teach, but it's very law focused. So we have officers in the Central Intelligence Agency come speak to students, ATF, FBI, all sorts of
Are we
law
talking an
enforcement.
undergraduate degree?
Undergraduate students have access to these kinds of people, and we also have our curriculum in the School of Humanities for criminal justice is also based in the liberal arts. So they will be taking government classes and political philosophy classes as well. So when they're ready to join the Houston Police Department or any other law enforcement agency, or to go to law school, they're going to have a very firm foundation, and not only the practical sides of law enforcement or criminal justice and the system, they'll understand the philosophical foundations and the historical context as well.
That is fantastic. So needed. That curriculum, that core curriculum, is that conspicuous of other Christian universities?
There are other Christian universities who are liberal arts universities who have similar core curriculums. Now, the Honors College is distinctive. There are other Honors College programs. There are great books universities, but there's not very many of them. It's definitely distinctive to HBU.
Honors College began at HBU in 2008?
I believe that's right. It was before my time.
And so when did you come to HBU?
I came as an adjunct in 2007 and then weaseled my way into a full-time position. Absolutely loved teaching.
Okay. And what about the medical humanities?
You may be familiar with something like bioethics.
Yes.
Applied ethics into some of the most interesting kinds of things. Research, the development of science, and where we have taken humanity forward. But what medical humanities seeks to do in its major, and this is true undergraduate, and then you can study medical humanities at the graduate level, even the PhD level. But here at HBU with our undergraduate program, we have students who are interested in medicine or allied health. They want to be in the medical community. They're in Houston.
Largest medical center in the world.
Exactly. But they also care about other things, and they care about people. Not all of them can handle blood.
Yeah.
I certainly cannot. Not all of them will be medical doctors or nurses or dentists. But the growing need to put humanity, the humanities maybe, back into medicine it's so important. Not just bedside manner kinds of things, but how do we think rightly, or how do we think even Christianly about some of the advancements that are happening? We should understand them on both sides, and we should have a broad base of understanding from the liberal arts. But at the end of the day, putting people or humanity, we're image bearers, right? We bear the image of God, and we're human. We have dignity because of that. Well, how do we put that back into the field of medicine? And so that's what medical humanities is about, is to have a broad-based understanding on a little bit of the technical side, so some hard science courses, but then also on the softer side. So maybe something like emotional intelligence in business. Well, this is emotional intelligence for medicine.
Makes sense. How about legal studies?
As a lawyer, one of my favorite areas. Our legal studies program is, I would say a key would be jurisprudence. In law school, it may be called a doctor of jurisprudence, but we spent little time actually talking about the philosophy of law. There may be an elective here or there about it, but Dr. Tyler is passionate. After having a fantastic career in law, went back, got a PhD, and he teaches for us. And his passion is undergraduate students. He could teach at a law school or someplace else.
He's amazing, John Tyler. I mean,
he's fantastic, and it's just a joy and a privilege to work with him. And this is sort of his baby. So he, from start to finish, he's on top of it. He loves his students. He was just showing me someone who got admitted into law school yesterday and wanted me to shake her hand and talk to her about that and congratulate her, but also just getting through the curriculum. So he's sort of the architect when it comes to that program and has put it together. And he wants students to understand the sort of the why and also the historical context. It's a perfect fit for HBU, especially in the School of Humanities, because he draws from all the fields that he has studied, and then as a curriculum, we do the same thing.
HBU is not the typical run-of-the-mill factory degree that other, are available in the country. I mean, there's something to a degree at HBU. The academic gravitas, shall we say, of this university is by design. What do you think that is?
Well, I would say that the biggest difference, what sets us apart, and it may not be for everyone, is that a student comes here, you have access to your faculty in ways that you just don't have access other places. A student had a question about one of my assignments and was in my office right before I came here. And it's not to say that you shouldn't have access to the dean's office, but everyone here loves students. We love talking to students. We love helping them have that aha moment. And then even when they don't have the aha moment, when they don't understand something, just your ability to talk to someone who wants to talk to you, a faculty member who may be researching and publishing in top journals, peer-reviewed, also wants to talk to you. And when you're spending the kind of money that you have to spend these days in college, your ability to have someone who truly, deeply cares about you and might hold the line, and you might not do well in a course, but it won't be because it won't be because of a faculty member not loving you and caring about you. And so I think the curriculum itself and the people who are teaching that curriculum, that's the value added, is our faculty members. They're phenomenal.
Indeed they are. Now let's talk about the MLA.
So the Master of Liberal Arts, there's a couple of different ways to look at that. We have a track for classical education. So leaders, the classical education movement or growth is before us. It is sort of white for harvest. People need an education so that they can go back and teach. And not everyone had a classical education. You can come to HBU and do a Master of Liberal Arts and do enough English or literature, enough history to even teach at the college level, but to take it back to your faculty or to, as a faculty member, to take it back to your students. Also, you may be a love of learning student. You may just be interested in history. We would love to have you. A couple of years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago now, we joined the Master of Liberal Arts to a College of Education and Behavioral Sciences. So if you know anything about the difference in the MLA and an MED, that's pretty unique or unique itself. You can do a Master of Liberal Arts degree and then also take the classes you need to get certified by the state of Texas because of the link that exists between those two schools. So the history major who decides he or she would love to teach history and has loved history and would love to continue studying history, but also would like to be able to provide for his or her family. Well, there are teachers who are needing their spots. We need more Christian teachers in public education, and this is a way to do it, even if you hadn't planned on it your whole college career. So that's the Master of Liberal Arts with Education Specialization. That's 2 of them. The Honors College students, and then other students who apply with a high enough GPA, have access to an accelerated MLA. And that allows students, while they're still undergraduates, to take classes, graduate school, and then to finish off with a master's degree in about 5 years.
Wow. Now, how long have you had the MLA?
The MLA, I've been dean, started off as interim dean. This is my 5th year. And
Okay.
so the MLA has, I guess, been under my charge since then.
Excellent. What about the MA Phil?
Now, that's a more recent addition, but the Master of Arts in Philosophy, our faculty really are phenomenal. I've used that term already, but in the philosophy department, I challenge you to look at another school our size and go find faculty who have the caliber that we do. I mean, they really are fantastic, and they love teaching freshmen. I won't say that universally if any of them has watched, but they love teaching freshmen. They love the beginning of understanding what philosophy is, not so they can give a vocabulary and be able to say ontology and epistemology and axiology and logic, but so they can help students ask those big questions. And then also look to see how other people have answered those questions. And they also care about writing very technical things that's way above my head. Way over my pay grade when it comes to philosophy. So students can come and finish their love of learning. And for students who didn't do an undergraduate in philosophy who'd like to apply to PhD programs, for instance, our MA philosophy could be a great bridge degree.
Yeah, Jodey, we've talked about graduate education, about how it just makes a difference for a student to move on, to keep on accelerating in their education. It changes their knowledge base, it changes the pay scale, it changes everything. And HBU's graduate school is known for its distinction. It's known also for its growth. It's had tremendous growth in the last 5 years. What would you add to that particular rationale of thought about graduate education to someone maybe who's got a BA, or maybe they're just an undergraduate student wondering, how long should I keep on doing this?
Well, I talk to students about this all the time. It's probably top 5 questions that comes into my office from my advisees, my students that I advise. So graduate school is not for everyone, but it's for a lot more people than they might know. I remember I was sitting in a class. I was not doing very well in that class that semester, and there were some students talking to my right about graduate school. I'm a first-generation college student. I don't know about graduate school, and I thought to myself in that moment, it was a Greek class. I was making a C, and I said, well, why can't I go to graduate school? And there was sort of this moment of, well, why couldn't I go to graduate school? And so I got a job and then went back and I studied philosophical theology and loved it. And everyone asked me, what are you going to do with that degree? And my response was law school. But I think, so I had a case. It went to just the Texas Supreme Court. I was appellate counsel, and it turned on the word or. Mm-hmm. And in graduate school, we took classes in hermeneutics and undergraduate and how to look at text. And it really did. It came down, the resolution of the case came down to a straightforward exegesis of a particular stretch of text and the word or. And I would love to tell you I learned about that in law school. I learned a lot of things, but I learned about that in graduate school when I was handling a different, for me, more reverent text, the Bible, and learning how to rightly interpret it, or at least aim at that. So for me, when I talk to students, I don't make it necessarily about what are all the options, but here's a story about me. It's changed my life. I didn't know about law school. I didn't know about PhD. I didn't know what I was going to do. And graduate school was the first time in my life when I absolutely loved everything I did. And for some students, that's enough. They want to go study something that they love. And so that's one part of the answer. The other is, a lot of people have bachelor's degrees now, and what makes you distinct is maybe having that graduate degree. And it is important where you go to school for your graduate degree. It depends on what you're studying, but it's also important who you know and who helped you learn, who mentored you. Mm-hmm. And so coming to HBU, whether it's a Master of Accountancy class, maybe you'll take me and I'll teach you about business law, if that's the case. If it's MBA, maybe you'll take my class. Maybe you'll be in the School of Education when we have professors who've been superintendents and principals, and they can speak into your life, not just the knowledge, which is important and necessary, but also that mentorship. So graduate school is a great place to learn more how to be a leader, no matter what field it is. And a lot of students, they perk up and say, oh, that's what I need. At the end of the day, graduate school doesn't answer all the questions, but it can. It has at least the merit of potentially, without hyperbole, changing somebody's life.
Totally agree. You've had an emphasis on the importance of loving others and your faith in this vocation. You want to address those?
So we have faith, hope, and love, and eventually, in the Christian worldview, faith and hope are going to be realized, actualized, but love will remain. Well, if you think about that not in reverse, but if you look back, before the fall, we had work. There's nothing wrong with work. Work is a good thing. So in business, and there's a book, Why Business Matters to God, and I've used it in my classes, and it asks a question, and I'd like to steal that for a moment. What do you do? You're a pastor, and someone says, I want to study medicine. Well, a pastor says something like, well, that's fantastic. God cares about making people whole. Well, I want to be a lawyer. Fantastic. God cares about justice. I want to be a business professional. We should be seeking to create meaningful work for people and to provide goods and services so that our community does something like flourish. And so I think people who are in the business profession or whatever work you choose to do, you should be figuring out what that is in college, seeking to understand what your vocation or your calling is maybe while you're in college. But whatever that is, you should be trying to understand or seeking to understand that in the context of loving others. And that may sound nice and pretty, but a lawyer asked Jesus in the New Testament, hey, what's the greatest commandment? And Jesus replies, love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, and your mind. And the second is like the first, love your neighbor as yourself. On these two hang or hinge, depending on the translation, the whole law and prophets. So Jesus answers this lawyer and says, look, this is the greatest commandment. Mm-hmm. So how do you love others with your work? And I think our business school can create entrepreneurs or people who create work for people. I have the opportunity to have my dream job. I love being a professor. I have meaningful work where I get to do something that has a lasting impact. So I ask my students, how are you going to make your life count? Just a simple question, and I just listen. How are you going to make your life count? Whatever it is that you feel called to do, how are you going to make your life count? And then I add for others. So using your work to love others, I think the liberal arts core helps with this. It helps us understand humanity and what's important in life. I think that's extraordinarily important, and I think the School of Humanities can help talk to schools of business and nursing and medical doctors to be and talk about how to make your life count. And so loving others with your work, I think, is huge. And when you figure that out, whether you're sweeping floors, you're a professor, vice president of a business, making your life count for others is huge.
Convincing argument. Dr. Jodey Hinze, the Dean of the School of Humanities at Houston Baptist University, and you can learn more about the School of Humanities by going to HBU.edu/humanities. And remember, you can call 281-649-3211. We have people that will take your call, answer your questions, help you find that connection point to Houston Baptist University, to the graduate school. There is a whole new future waiting for you, so make the contact today. Dr. Hinze, thank you so much for coming today and sitting down talking to us. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for the gift you are to Houston Baptist University.
Thank you.